Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie. I'm a book-loving, notebook-hoarding literacy teacher educator on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. And this is the Get Literate podcast, a podcast where we explore the power of reading and writing to cultivate a life we love. Each week, I offer a bit of bibliotherapy and share 3 books you need to know about on a bookish theme to fuel our reading hearts and help us grow through what we go through too. But that's not all. I also invite you to extend those bookish themes into your own life through notebooking, lifelong learning, and creativity to experience the life-changing magic of reading in our lives. And now, on to today's episode.
Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Get Literate podcast. I am so excited to be here with you today and thrilled that you are listening to the first episode. Today, I want to talk about 3 books you need to read when you need some comfort. When I think of my reading life, I want it to embody that word comfort. I want it to feel comfortable. I want to read books that make me feel good. And I want to read in ways that fuel my own reading heart. So comfort books to me might be different than the comfort books to you, but they're important. We've all been through a recent world pandemic that we are still trying to get through. And whether you've had a hard day, a hard week, a hard month, or you just want an excuse to sit down with a book that's going to put a smile on your face, I have got you covered today. So first, how do I define comfort books? Well, for me, a true comfort book is one that I can immediately become invested in. I just jump right into the worlds of the characters and I connect with them deeply. I get lost in the book. I forget what time it is. I skip the dishes or the laundry or the vacuuming because I just don't want to let those characters go. And reading it makes me feel good. There's something about the story that perhaps is uplifting, or if it is not uplifting and the characters are going through hard times, I know that it's going to come full circle and I'll feel good in the end. So a book I can get lost in, a book with characters that I can connect with and learn from, in a book that I know when I close that last page, I'm going to feel satisfied of where the journey took me. But before I share those 3 books with you, I'd love to know how you define comfort books. Is your comfort book matching mine? Do you like to get lost in the pages? Do you want to connect with characters? Do you want to feel good at the end? Or perhaps a comfort book for you is diving into a big mystery and figuring it out and settling into the pages that way. Or maybe a comfort book for you is reading a memoir or an autobiography and learning more about the people around you. Or perhaps your comfort book is a nonfiction book so that you can dive into a new topic and feel good about how you're fueling your brain. Regardless of how you define comfort books, and I define comfort books, we need them. We need them greatly, which is why I started the podcast with 3 books you need to read when you need some comfort. Up first for me, book 1 is The Reading List by Sarah Nisha Adams. Oh, this book took every emotional reserve I had. Now, comfort books for me, I like to be uplifting, or as I mentioned, I like things to come full circle if there are some difficult topics involved. And this book was both of those things. It was exquisite. It followed multiple characters as they sorted through their own individual feelings, grief, pain, loneliness. Yet ultimately, they were connected together through this unexpected book list. Let me start at the beginning. It opens up with widower Mukesh, who lives a very, very quiet life after losing his wife. He does the things he needs to do and nothing else. He worries about his family, he worries about his granddaughter, and he spends his nights just watching documentaries. But he finally decides to get out of his shell because he knows that was what his wife would have wanted him to do. And he arrives at the library, a place his wife loved very, very much. Now, he was hoping to find a few books so that he could connect with his granddaughter, the one who's very quiet and does a lot of reading and not much connecting with him. When he went to the library, he met Alicia, a bright, bit anxious teenager who's working at the library for the summer and isn't too happy about it. She has no idea what to recommend to him for his granddaughter, but she ends up discovering a crumpled piece of paper in the book To Kill a Mockingbird as she was reshelving it. And in that book was a list of novels that someone had compiled together with a simple label, just in case you need it. She was intrigued, started reading the books at the top of the list, and started recommending them to Mukesh and others as well. And that's what makes the story so magical. The books on that reading list were exactly what each character needed to heal in their particular journey or to broaden their ideas of what the world was and what it was capable of. No one knew where the list came from. No one knew how the list got to each of these particular characters, but it was exactly what they needed. And the story follows each character back and forth as they move through the reading list, and it changes their lives. Now, I truly believe in the power of books and bibliotherapy, as you know, so I was captivated. If you need a book that's going to remind you of the power of reading, then read this book. If you already know about the power of reading and you just want to get more of it, then read this book. This is a book that's going to help you think differently about life, the people around you, how you connect to them, and the ties that bind us that might not be visible. This book has touched my heart in so many ways. And yes, I have created my own reading list and may have tucked it into a book or two that I have returned to my local library in the spirit of keeping this amazing book going. A true 5-star read for me. Now, up next for book 2 is a different kind of comfort book. So this book is The Switch by Beth O'Leary. And I have learned that Beth O'Leary is going to be a comfort book author for me, right alongside the likes of Jenny Colgan and Debbie Maycomb. Beth O'Leary, I know, is going to give me a very satisfying reading experience. The Switch is a darling book about Lena and Eileen, a grandmother and granddaughter pair who need a bit of adventure in their life. So it begins with Lena. Lena is the granddaughter who was ordered to take a 2-month sabbatical from work after she blew up a big presentation. Not knowing what else to do, she escaped to her grandmother Eileen's house for some rest and relaxation, and hopefully the chance to decide what to do next. Now, Eileen, her grandmother, is about to turn 80. She's newly single and wants a second chance at love. So what do they decide to do? You guessed it. They decide to switch lives for 2 months. Grandma Eileen is going to live in London and look for love. And Lena is going to get the rest and relaxation she desires in rural Yorkshire. Now, of course, because this is a comfort book, we've got lots of fun events. We have a bit of humor. We have a lot of reflection. And ultimately, as we go back and forth between their 2 stories, which is another comfort kind of book for me to really dive into the characters, and doing so with alternating perspectives is one of my favorite things. But we go back and forth between what's happening with Lena and Eileen. And, you know, those 2 months, they bring a lot of adventure and a lot of clarity to their lives. They each learn to push past their comfort zone, to embrace who they are, no matter what, find their true gifts overall, and then actually believe in themselves enough again to reach for what they want. It's a delightful book. And quite honestly, I was so sad to see Lena and Eileen go that I am hoping Beth O'Leary has a sequel planned somewhere along the way. That was The Switch by Beth O'Leary. Now, finally, up next is my third comfort book. This is quite a different book again. We go from the reading list to The Switch, and now to a middle grade novel called A Kind of Paradise. So in my reader's notebook, I have a page that is labeled at the top, Books I've Hugged. These are the ultimate comfort books for me. And A Kind of Paradise by Amy Rebecca Tan was a book that I added to that list. It was the ultimate middle grade comfort book. And I don't just mean a comfort book for middle grade readers. I mean a middle grade book perfect for adult readers seeking comfort too. Now, in this book, we meet Jamie. Jamie is a middle schooler who made an unfortunate choice that landed her in the library as a volunteer for the entire summer. Now, initially, she's dreading the experience, and she's even fantasizing that the library might close so that she can get her summer back. But ultimately, meeting the staff and learning about the patrons there, she ultimately changes her tunes as these relationships develop and grow, and she sees them and the library in this completely new light. As she decides to join the fight to save the library, a bit ironic from her wishing that it would close in the beginning, she ultimately finds this beautiful new version of herself in the process. She learns to leave behind the mistakes of her past and embrace who she is and what she's learning in the moment. This truly huggable middle grade book reminds us that we can reinvent ourselves at any time. And we can find a new path for ourselves with patience, with friendship and acceptance of all versions of who we are. This book was a beautiful book. It'll be a book that is on your Books I've Hugged list in your notebook as well. That's A Kind of Paradise by Amy Rebecca Tan. So one of the things I love to encourage people to do that you will find will be a regular here on the podcast is to think how we can bring this bookish theme to life. I have offered you 3 books that have brought me great comfort in hopes that they bring you comfort too. So now, what do? Well, hopefully you're going to read at least one of them, but I'd love for you to think and claim what kind of comfort book works for you. Based on what I've said, I have a clear definition of what a comfort book is for me, and I go to it when I need comfort in my actual life and in my reading life. But take a minute or two and think about, what is your ideal comfort book? And are you reading enough of those kinds of books, no matter what? Then I encourage you to think about how we can bring the theme of comfort in our bookish life into our actual life. And I urge you to open up your notebook and create a small list of rituals that bring you comfort. A small list of things that bring you comfort. Is it the first sip of coffee in the morning? Is it the sound that the wonderful dark chocolate bar makes when you snap it in half to take a bite? Is it the sound of the birds chirping as you sit outside and drink in nature? Or is the sound of a busy city as you hustle and bustle your way through your own adventure? Right? Whatever that is, I'd urge you to take this theme of comfort in your reading life and see how you can bring it to your actual life. Read books that truly feel good to you and take the time to think about the other small things in your life that could bring you comfort and work those into your days as often as possible. Thank you so much for listening to this inaugural episode of the Get Literate podcast. I'm so looking forward to bringing you more bookish themes each week. Next week, I'll have another round of 3 with another opportunity to bring that theme to life in your own life too. So thank you so much for listening. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at www.alitlife.com. You'll also find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life there, like book lists, notebooking ideas, personalized book recommendations, and an invitation to join my Get Literate members community. Each month, we take a deep dive into one bookish theme and work to bring it to life in our own lives. You'll get a monthly bibliotherapy book calendar with a book recommendation for every day of the month, bonus episodes, live book club sessions, and much more. Learn more at www.getliterate.co.